everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Deziel and today I'm back to do more bodice pattern. I'll be doing the style 209 from my PDF document. Now let's look a little closer to the style we're doing today. It's a mixed style line because we also have a pivoting. We transfer both dart, shoulder dart and waist dart to the side seam. So we have a tiny little dart and the princess line away from the apex. For all the ones that are doing or using vintage pattern, it's a style line that you see pretty often. To do that new style, the first thing will be to trace right on my block the style line that I'm going to need. And the first one is where am I going to send those two darts in the side seam. You'll notice that for this one, I'm simply going to use the reference that I placed for another style. Now we're ready to do the princess line, the new princess line. We're going to do it from the armhole to the waist. And remember not to use the notch or below the notch. We have to go a little further up if you want it to show. So we're simply going to place it and then I'll fix it or make it nice with my French curve. Now we're ready for the first part of the tracing. Like we do very often, we're going to start at the first notch of the waist dart and we're going to go towards center front all the way until the first notch of the shoulder dart. Don't forget to indicate your pivot. Now hold your pivot and close your shoulder dart. Now we trace from that second notch all the way to the new princess line. Then using your tracing wheel, you're going to trace the top part of the style line until the dart position. And make sure you indicate the area you have your dart because we're going to need it to trace it later. Now take your pattern all again, put it back on the pivot, and we're going to close the waist dart, placing the second notch over the trace of the first one. Now we have a little left to trace from this second notch to the princess line. Now with your tracing wheel, you're going to trace the bottom part of the new princess line. Don't forget to indicate the area of the dart. Now if we want to complete this piece, we're going to have to finish the dart. And as usual, we'll have to move a little bit the pivot. So take your ruler and find the middle of the opening of the dart. Then trace the center line. Now we're going to move the pivot, and I would say a minimum of 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. It all depends on the length of that dart that you did, so where you place your the new princess line. Now, as you could see, mine is about 5 centimeter or 2 inches long. So since it's very short, I'm going to shorten it just 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. Then just retrace the new dart. The punch hole will be, as usual, 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch inside the dart. We're going to place the seam allowance all around. Now we're going to find the jog or the arrow of the dart. We want the back of the dart towards the bottom, so we're going to fold first the bottom line and we'll bring it over to the top one. Now we'll be able to trace. You could do both inside and outside line. If you do have a tiny little correction because we moved the pivot, you could do it before. It's going to be a very tiny correction. Then we trace. Of course, we did eliminate the waist dart and the shoulder dart. About the contour, right now you have an angle over here that it's not so obvious. It could cause problem when you assemble, putting your piece at the wrong level. What I usually do is elongate the seam line until it touches the contour of the piece or the seam allowance line. Now that you have traced the line until the contour, you're going to take your ruler, place it 90 degrees on that line that you just did. Place the ruler at the intersection of the contour line, and you're going to trace towards outside, of course, exactly your seam allowance. So here 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch, exactly your seam allowance. Now place your ruler parallel and just trace or continue the contour line until that seam allowance 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter 8 that we went out. Now what you should get is a little corner that is coming out. Now the information on that piece, first it's going to be cut on the fold of the fabric. I'm going to trace my grain line parallel to center front. This is my style 209. I'm going to cut it one time in my main fabric. It's a pattern size 10. This bodice is incomplete now because it's missing the side piece that we're going to do right away. Now you will see that the side piece is much easier to do because we already have it here right on the block. So we're going to trace from the princess line down all the way down to the waist princess line right there. Then using your tracing wheel, you're going to trace the new princess line. Don't forget to indicate the dart position. Now I'm going to place my seam allowance all around. I could also put my grain line. I simply have to put my ruler 90 degrees with the bottom or the waistline and trace. The first piece, the center front piece was on fold, but the side piece should be cut one pair. I ask you to put a reference at the dart level because it's going to match with the 2 notches that we have placed for the dart on the main piece or the center front piece. Now for the center front piece, I show you how to add the little corner. For the side piece, we're going to do a little bit the opposite. We're going to take off a little corner so the line will match. The way to do it is by placing the seam line, so the one you trace with the tracing wheel, over the one that you did with the tracing wheel. So seam line over the seam line. And you're going to indicate the top of that little extension you did. Now square on the top part of the seam allowance over here, the contour line, you're going to place your ruler so you touch the reference that you just placed. And this is going to tell you where the piece is ending. Here, don't forget to do your notch for the armhole. Now about those corners, I'm just going to show you by pivoting my pattern how it would be when you're going to assemble it. So I'll start placing my piece face to face, starting at the notch, and I'll go towards the top. So I'm just moving my finger and pivot a little bit by a little bit, just like if I was sewing it. Now you could see that at the end, they match perfectly with the length. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I see you soon.